New allowance scheme to be rolled out for public workers next year.
And the strongest El Nino weather cycle likely to increase the threat of hunger and disease in Africa. It is our penultimate bulletin for the year 2015. Hello, very good evening to you. Many thanks for joining us here on News Hour here on GBC24. We're also live on GTV. My name is Abdul Haji Mumen.
And I am Shirley Ann, and Robert Manso would help us with our sign language interpretation.
We'll begin the bulletin with some amount of good news. The Minister of Power has officially announced the end of load shedding, popularly called Dumso.
Statement signed by the ministry's head of public affairs, Kweku Sessa Johnson, expressed gratitude to all for their tolerance and understanding during that difficult period. The statement further says that the ministry and its agencies will continue to pursue policies and programs to consolidate the gains so far made in generating and transmitting electricity.
Giddy fowl, a bird reared mostly in the three regions of the north, is deemed essential to sustainable agriculture and a critical poverty alleviation tool in the northern, upper east and upper west regions, which all fall within the most poverty endemic areas of the country.
The industry has, however, been affected by a lack of support for farmers, loss of birds and eggs through picking by predators and worm infestation. Presently, there are attempts to scale up production and improve the economic conditions of farmers.
Almost every rural farmer has some guinea fowls, not only because of the meat, but also because of its central position in the culture of the people. Throughout the process leading to final marriage rites, the bird plays key roles in wooing mothers-in-law. A good son-in-law must compensate his mother-in-law with several guinea fowls. But the production of this invaluable bird is fraught with challenges. The guinea fowl value chain is being assessed to find innovative ways to improve the rearing of guinea fowls. The program is organized by Trias Ghana and funded by the Northern Rural Growth Program. The country representative of Trias Ghana, Rex Asanga, said the project aims at increasing the income of guinea fowl farmers in rural households on a sustainable basis. The project coordinator, Ebenezer Mate, called on farmers to adopt new methods. The project is also exploring ways of crossbreeding guinea fowls with cocks.
In other news, President John Dramani Mahama has, in accordance with Article 243, Clause 1 of the 1992 Constitution and Section 20, Clause 1 of the Local Government Act 1993 Act 462, made the following new nominations as Metropolitan, Municipal and District Chief Executives. They are Abura Asebu Kwamankesi, Frank Pratt.
Suhum Municipal, Margaret Ansay, Nkwanta South, Alfred Kofi Wukanya, and Sefi Rioso, Lawrence Santana, Bogatanga, Abori Adongo Philip. East Mamprusi, Magnus Jacob Yama Tampuri, Mandai Alfred Donko, Tano North Apreku Late.
The following MMDCs have been removed from office: Adan West, Anthony Klokpa; Kintampo South, Kwejo Nyame Dachiakwa; East Mamprusi, Imoro Adams.
Mandai Jasper Jato Moi, Upper West Achim, Derek Ohini Esifo, Wasa Amenfi East, Stephen Bedu, and Sene West, Moses Fofie.
Moving on to other stories now, but we go to the northern region where the government's fertilizer subsidy program is beset with some difficulties. One of these problems is the smuggling of the products for sale in neighboring countries.
A dialogue on the program has been held in Tamale to assess the policy's effectiveness.
In June 2008, the government of Ghana introduced a nationwide fertilizer subsidy program covering 3 types of inorganic fertilizer, namely sulfate ammonia, urea and compound fertilizer. The program was an intervention to increase food production at the peak of the global financial food and energy crisis that was adversely affecting poor countries. The goal was to help farmers increase fertilizer application for increased crop yields. The dialogue session was to bring on board all partners in the agriculture sector to find solutions to the problems that hinder the program. The Northern Regional Director of Food and Agriculture, William Echampong, said agriculture is the mainstay of many Ghanaians and more efforts must be put into the sector to ensure its success. The program officer of Send Ghana, one of the organizers of the dialogue, John Nkau, said an effective agriculture policy is the surest way to sustain the sector.
We have to think or take advantage of the subsidy because now it is ongoing up till when the quota is finished. And again, when the farmer goes to a place and says, I want fertilizer, and he says, subsidy is finished, you have to go to another shop that has not exhausted his what? Subsidy, because every company has a quota to sell.
Views of participants are expected to be included in recommendations to the government on how to make the fertilizer subsidy program better.
For a fisherman in Accra, it is a taboo to go to sea on Tuesdays. On this day of the week, there is virtually no activity on the high seas.
This day is religiously used to mend nets ahead of the next day's expedition. GBC24 was at the Jamestown Beach at the Lighthouse on the first Tuesday after Christmas, and he has sights and sounds from this part of the capital.
About 11 a.m. at the Jamestown Beach in Accra, the age-old tradition of not going to sea on Tuesday still holds. Hundreds of canoes were therefore taking a break on the shore ahead of the next expedition at dawn. While some fishermen just took it easy, others mended their nets and canoes. Sewing of the nets is by hand. The assistant officer of the Ghana Canoe Fishermen's Council, Mr. Samuel Kome Okain, tells us more about why Tuesdays are religiously a day of rest.
Traditionally, we believe we must give the fish a break, and so we also rest.
According to him, there are a few instances where fishermen have flouted this order. Fines and restriction periods, he said, are handed down to anyone who goes against the laid-down tradition. We also sought the views of Ni Olokwe Commodore and other fisher folks on the importance of this day.
Actually, there is nothing spiritual about a day of rest. Patching my canoe because it leaks and I'm tired of scooping water out. The fishing net is necessary in our work, so I am mending it and I hope to make a bumper catch.
The canoes have rather interesting names: Barofwe, James Bond, Yanyoyake, AK-47, among others. Some also have religious inscriptions. It's the Christmas season, so this fisherman is giving his canoe a lick of paint. And after a hard day's work, man must eat. This pier was the path for transporting fish from the canoes to the beach, but is no longer in use. The children, who often take after their parents, are not far away. They do what they do best. To be a fisherman is certainly not for the faint-hearted. They are sometimes met with challenges, including dangerous storms on the high seas. But it is their world, and they are at peace. Come Thursday, this fisherfolk will compete in a fishing tournament. This event is a lot of fun and is now a tradition within this fishing community. GBC24 will bring you
And our penultimate bulletin on News Hour takes a break, and we return with business.
Good evening, you're welcome to the business news. My name is Esther Edu. GBC24 has just been told by an official of the Agriculture Development Bank that Mr. Stephen Poggi continues to be the managing director of the bank. The confirmation comes amid reports that the board of the bank refused to renew his contract. On the line is the marketing and communications manager of ADB, Mr. Solomon Atifoy. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. And good evening to your listeners.
Okay, sir. You are welcome.
Thank you.
So, is Mr. Stephen Poggi still at post?
Yes, I can state emphatically that Mr. Stephen Poggi is still the managing director of ADB and he's still at post.
So, what do you think has fueled these reports?
It is very strange to us, seriously, because the last board meeting, which was held on the 23rd of December, this was not even part of the agenda. So we find it very, very strange that a media house could carry this thing that Stephen Poggi has left the bank. And our department is now open to the media. Whatever happens, you can easily reach us on phone. So we find it very, very strange and very, very unprofessional.
So have you spoken to him and how is he taking the report?
Well, he is not happy about this, but some of these things do happen. We don't know who is behind this, but I think it's something that we shouldn't take it seriously because he's still at post.
Do you think this is likely to undermine his administration?
I don't. Well, with that aspect, we don't know the motive behind it. We don't know the motive behind it because his contract has been extended and it has not come to an end. It's not expired, and that is what we know.
And finally, is the development likely to affect the bank's operations, given the reports could lead to caution, especially among the bank's customers and business partners?
I don't think so. That is why we've come out strongly against this malicious statement and wish to urge all our customers to disregard the news item and be assured of a successful IPO by the bank, and wish all our customers a happy new year as well.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
You're welcome.
That was Mr. Atifoy speaking to us about some happenings at ADB. Moving on, come next year, a new allowance scheme will be rolled out for public workers. The implementation means all the 21 allowances across the public sector will be standardized in order to ensure fairness among government workers.
The roadmap for the consideration of the categories 2 and 3 allowances for public service employees was set in motion in October this year. This was after the Public Services Joint Standing Negotiating Committee came into an agreement for the implementation of the allowances. The agreement would take effect from January 1, 2016, when public sector workers would benefit intermittently from the allowances classified under the Single Spine Salary Structure, SSSS, as Categories 2 and 3 allowances. Allowances to be enjoyed under Category 2 include acting allowance, additional duty allowance, and permanent transfer allowance. The Category 3 allowances includes staff welfare, an all-inclusive funeral grant of 1,500 Ghana cedis after the death of an employee, 1,000 Ghana cedis for a spouse, and the same for a child. Before the implementation takes off, the Fair Wages Commission met with directors of finance of the various institutions to sensitize them about the policy. The General Secretary of the Trade Union Congress, Kofi Asamoah, said the union would collaborate with the government to ensure the implementation of the allowances.
Although we also are committed to ensuring that it's efficiently done, although we are also committed to ensuring that abuses and other things are at least minimized, we have a responsibility to ensure that the overall promotion of productivity is not undermined. So yes, you are going to go through the guidelines, the directive, let's ensure that the ordinary worker do not become a victim of either somebody's action or inaction.
The Chief Director of the Ministry of Finance, Major M.S. Tara, said the government would punish any institution that spends beyond its budget.
It must be noted, therefore, that the implementation of these allowances is to be in strict adherence with budgetary provisions. The minutest abuse of these allowances would throw this well-thought-out part of the single spine pay policy into disarray.
The Chief Executive of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, George Smith Graham, threw more light on the implementation process.
Categories 2 and 3 allowances are regular things that happens in an organization, but they are not, what should I say, benefits that you get every month. No, like you have been saying now on an assignment. If, for instance, you came from Kumasi and you've been sent on this assignment, and they have to give you an allowance for it, so that you can get a place to sleep and the food to eat, that is when you get it. So if, for instance, you have not been sent on any assignment, your colleagues who are in the office will not get the out-of-station allowance that will be given to you. And they have to be budgeted for. And government does not control what you are going to do in your activities. Nobody tells me in my organization what I'm supposed to do, who I'm supposed to send here, who I'm supposed to send there. Nobody does that. I have the authority as the head of the institution to do that. But in doing that, I have to make sure that it's within the budget that has been provided for me. And that is what we want to drum home for everybody to know.
The Fair Wages and Salaries Commission say all is set for the full takeoff of the Category 2 and 3 allowances come 1st January 2016.
Now, players in the financial industry have said the industry performed creditably despite the challenges in the economy, including the load shedding exercise. They, however, said the sector can do better in 2016 if the macroeconomic challenges are tackled head-on.
We reflect the economic environment of the country. So once the economy is stable and growing, yes, then there's a bright future for banking. So I think that we already have too many foreign banks in this country. And when you do that, you mortgage your economy to foreigners. And when there's an indigenous problem, when there's a local problem, your foreign direct investors will always leave. So it doesn't matter who we can bring as many foreign direct investors to the financial sector or telecom sector, whichever sector we choose to bring them in. But we must have a deliberate effort of indigenization. There's nothing wrong with indigenization. The country belongs to indigents, and the government, as a matter of policy, must support local banks to grow and become as big as the foreign banks. They must support local companies to become giants.
I think the banking sector did perform creditably. There was quite an expansion in assets, total assets. What we are expecting is some ramifications of 2015 into 2016 by way of quality assets, quality loan assets. It is expected that there will be some challenges in 2016 because of some obvious challenges that occurred in the business sector, like the power issues and issues concerning SMEs in general, who were largely affected by some of these economic variables, including the value of the CD, depreciating CD, over the year 2015 as a whole. So 2016 should be a period of careful monitoring of the banking sector to see how they will fare as a result of these issues that occurred in 2015. I think the onus lies on the various banks, that's the governance, management, and the boards, to assess their their figures very well, look at the details of their balance sheets, and if they see any red flags, they approach it timely.
With less than 48 hours to close the chapter of 2015, the cedi is showing signs of resilience. It gained 4 pesos against the pound sterling to close trading at 5 cedi 63 pesos. It was also stable against the euro and the dollar. And on the international commodity market, light crude dipped by 94 cents, gold by $1.70, and cocoa by $5. Next is the board. And that was the business news. Have a good evening.
Let's now do some health news. About 33% of children in the Tripoli district of the Northern Region aged between 6 months and 5 years are stunted. Additionally, about 44% of children are underweight. These figures have prompted the government to collaborate with US aid to solve the problem of malnutrition among children in the area.
The effort to deal with the problem of malnourished children is a 5-year project, which is part of the component of the USAID Resiliency in Northern Ghana, also known as RING. It is an adopted and integration approach to solve the problem by bringing the key decentralized departments of the Assembly on board. The departments include the planning, agriculture, health, hygiene, water sanitation, environmental health and sanitation, as well as social welfare and community development and finance. The interventions also include agriculture, capacity building, community action plan, and good governance. Participants, including health officers, were given motorbikes to educate residents on good nutrition. 11 motorbikes worth 198,800 cedis and sacks were given out to departments and women at Shreponi. The program officer of the Ring project, Abdul Latif, urged the beneficiary department to use the motorbikes for the purpose they are donated for. The Shreponi District Chief Executive, Hajia Mary Nako, said she will ensure that the motorbikes serve their purpose. The DCE further presented 1,250 sacks to women engaged in the cultivation of soya beans for storage.
2-year-old Emmanuel Boache has been diagnosed with a severe narrowing of the throat. In order to save his life, he needs to undergo surgery at a cost of 6,000 Ghana cedis. The toddler's parents are therefore appealing to the public for financial support.
According to Emmanuel's mother, who is a soap manufacturer, her son accidentally swallowed a corrosive substance which she uses to prepare her soap. She hinted that due to her son's condition, he can no longer eat nor drink through his mouth, as the only option now is to pass food or drink through a tube which has been connected to his stomach. Emmanuel's difficulty with swallowing is due to the severe narrowing of his throat. Doctors have recommended that he undergoes a surgery called colon bypass, which costs 6,000 cedis. Donations could be sent to the following account details: Global Access Bank, Branch, Spintex Road, account name Douglas Adai, account number 010 101 391 6912, or call 0241 616 104 for any assistance.
Management of the Kumasi Abattoir says its meat is safe for consumption and quality and safety will not be compromised. The managing director of the abattoir, Mr. Joseph Usubwedi, gave this assurance after a media tour of the company to make public the processes of production.
The Kumasi Abattoir became operational in 1999 with a mission to process and produce high-quality and hygienic animal products for public consumption. The abattoir came in handy at a time when conditions under which such meat products were prepared was bad, thereby raising constant safety concerns among the public. The abattoir does not only slaughter animals like goats, sheep, cattle and pigs, but also processes these into 20 different products like sausage. Also known as mayanka, the abattoir supplies about 90% of all locally made meat products consumed in Kumasi. This is why issues on how wholesome meat products from the company is a major source of public concern. On a normal day, 200 cows are slaughtered and prepared for the market. But during festive seasons like Christmas, the number could rise to 250. So recently, when there were speculations about poor environmental conditions under which animals are prepared at the abattoir, the consuming public, especially in Kumasi, were concerned. To reassure the public of its commitment to produce the high quality and hygienic meat and meat products for their consumption, the management of the abattoir took a section of the news media on a tour of the facility to bring to the fore the processes and environmental conditions under which the meat the public consumes is prepared. A veterinary surgeon stationed at the abattoir, Dr. Ernest Boating, whose duty is to ensure that public safety is not compromised, took the media through the processes of meat production.
We check if there is no abnormality before the animal is slaughtered. And when it's done, the animal is hoisted here for us to come and check. For here, we check the lymph node, prescapular lymph node. We check the testes to see if there is otitis or like inflammation of the testes.
For his part, the managing director of the Kumasi Abattoir, Mr. Joseph Usubwedi, noted that the animal goes through 17 different processes before it is consumed. Meanwhile, the United Nations Development Organization, UNIDO, and the Korean government are constructing a biogas facility on a pilot basis at the abattoir with the possibility of scaling it up to other West African nations. The construction of the biogas began in August this year and is expected to be operational by the middle of 2016. According to Mr. Usubwedi, waste products from the abattoir will be converted into energy as part of environmental conservation.
Bringing news from across our borders after this break.
We'll now tell you what's happening on the African continent and beyond. The strongest El Nino weather cycle on record is likely to increase the threat of hunger and disease for millions of people in 2016. The weather phenomenon is set to exacerbate droughts in some areas while increasing flooding in others. Some of the worst impacts are likely in Africa, with food shortages expected to peak in February. Regions including the Caribbean, Central and South American will also be hit in the next 6 months. This periodic weather event, which tends to drive up global temperatures and disturb weather patterns, has helped push 2015 into the record books as the world's warmest year. Burundi's President Pierre Nkurunziza has threatened to fight African Union peacekeepers if they are deployed to the country. The AU announced 2 weeks ago that it would send 5,000 troops to protect civilians in the country, even without the government's consent. In his first public response to the AU plan, Mr. Nkurunziza said everyone has to respect Burundi's borders. At least 400 people have been killed and 220,000 people displaced since April. The violence began after Mr. Nkurunziza announced he would seek a third term in office. He survived a coup attempt in May and secured a landslide victory in disputed elections in July. There have been fears that the violence could spiral into civil war and possible ethnic conflict. We'll go for a break. When we come, we'll bring you sports news. Right now, we'll tell you what's happening in the world of sports. And for those in the central region, the newly constructed Cape Coast Sports Complex is meant for football, athletics, and boxing. The facility, financed from a $30 million Chinese government grant, has a modern boxing arena for hosting international bouts and to unearth talents in the region.
The $30 million sports complex was a grant from the Chinese government to the people of Ghana. The construction of the 15,000 capacity facility started about 3 years ago. It is expected to help identify and nurture talent of the youth in the area, especially from the educational institutions. It has tennis courts, boxing arena, track and field for athletes and other sporting facilities. As the year comes to an end, the Minister for Sports, Dr. Mustafa Ahmed, and the Central Regional Minister toured the facility to find out progress of work.
Do you still have time to...
The contractors noted that the facility is ready for use, but what is left to be done are the floodlights and some few works which will be completed before the end of January next year. Both ministers were impressed with the quality of work and the beauty of the facility.
I went to the sports hall today and it's amazing. I mean, the boxing ring, the sports hall, the table tennis, the gym. I was shocked.
It's an impressive piece of work. The contractors have done very well. They have lived up to expectation. The quality of work, I think, is good, and barring any hitches, the stadium should be up and ready for use by the end of January 2016.
There was the hope that the facility will be managed properly so that it will not end up like Nkrumah's sports stadium.
In other sports news, but away from Ghana, Leicester City were held to a goalless draw by Manchester City at the King Power Stadium. This result sees Leicester settle for the second position in the English Premiership, with Man City dropping to third. That was sports news. Micheline Taka is standing by with entertainment news.
Hello and welcome to the entertainment and arts segment of the news. My name is Micheline Taka.
A lot of us grew up watching cartoons like Tom and Jerry, The Flintstones, Spider-Man and Batman. Over the years, some of these lovable cartoon characters are on the silver screens and has been turned into movies. Jones Aban is a Ghanaian and is the brain behind the modernized Kweku Anansi series and says it is about time cartoons were made in Ghanaian languages. He was a guest earlier on Showbiz 24.
Jones Aban is a pharmacist turned cartoonist. He explained how he switched codes to become an animator.
I went to Labone Secondary School, I did science, and then from there I went to KNUST. And I wanted to go and do visual arts in Labone University too as well, but he was in control. So I had to obey. And so I had to choose medical school, pharmacy, and then I slipped in my College of Art.
He touched on the concept of the modern day Kweku Anansi.
We're trying to bring Anansi to modern day setting, so that the people will begin to appreciate. That's the whole idea. We're extracting from a village setting and bringing him to the modern. So you see Anansi doing all the stuff that we all used to.
Jones calls himself the pharmatunist.
What exactly are you?
Okay, I'm a pharmatunist.
Aha, sounds interesting. Okay, a pharmatunist.
A pharmacist and a cartoonist.
Right,
Ghanaian musician Waisar, known in real life as Eugene Ashi, accused of partially stripping while performing on stage and was arraigned before court in the early hours of today, has been granted bail in the sum of 80,000 Ghana cedis after pleading not guilty. He was charged with gross indecent exposure at a public event held in Accra on Christmas Eve. According to his lawyer, Jerry Agbenovo, Waisar did not show his genitals, but rather a dildo, which he says will be tendered in evidence in the course of the trial. The case has been adjourned to the 13th of January 2016. That's all on the entertainment in our segment. Up next is the weather report.
That's how we draw the curtains on News Hour at 10:30. We'll come your way with news tonight. But before we go, a quick reminder of stories that made headlines in this bulletin. Minister for Power, Dr. Kwabena Donko, has announced the end of load shedding, popularly called Dumso, officially. A statement signed by the ministry's head of public affairs, Mr. Kweku Sesan Johnson, expressed gratitude to all for their tolerance and understanding during that difficult period.
A new allowance scheme is to be rolled out for public workers next year. The implementation means all the 21 allowances across the public sector would be standardized in order to ensure fairness among government workers.
And in Africa, the strongest El Nino weather cycle is likely to increase the threat of hunger and disease for millions of people in 2016. Weather experts say the weather phenomenon is set to exacerbate droughts in some areas while increasing flooding in others. Some of the worst impacts are likely to be in Africa, with food shortages expected to peak in February.
And that's it for News Hour. News tonight is at 10:30. Please keep watching GBC24 and GTV.